Well, it's been 3 years since a Braxton County woman was last seen, her mother pleading for answers in her daughter's mysterious disappearance.
Yeah, and this Eyewitness News investigates cold case files. Reporter Leslie Rubin talked to the man who was last seen with this missing woman. She's here now to break down this case, as someone watching tonight could finally help solve it.
Becky Cochran says she knows no more about her daughter Candace's disappearance today than she did 3 years ago. She describes it as hell on earth, and with nowhere left to turn, she's hopeful this story could bring her the answers she's desperately seeking. Becky Cochran hasn't slept for 3 years.
How do you close your eyes? How do you get up and go in there and go to bed whenever your child is missing?
Life has gone on, but hers stopped.
I just feel this is hell right here on earth. That's how I feel. I feel like I am living in hell right here. This is it.
Candace Cochran had a picture-perfect childhood growing up in Braxton County. The athletic and popular teen had a big group of friends.
This is when she went to the prom, and he was barefoot, and you can see how close they are.
And an unbreakable bond with her older brother, Bert.
Life was a fairy tale for them. They said, you made our life a fairy tale, and it was. It was perfect.
Addiction doesn't care about a fairy tale. Bert was found dead on Father's Day in 2010. He was just 21.
He always acted as her father. He took care of her. He protected her. And when we lost him, she said, I just can't imagine life without him, Mom. I can't do this.
Bert's death was the beginning of a troubled path for Candace. She was prescribed pain pills following an emergency surgery shortly after her brother's death, eventually leading to a heroin addiction that stole her away from the mother, who never stopped trying to get her back.
People have no idea unless they live it.
2 weeks before Candace disappeared, Becky saw the change she had been praying for. Candace, now 28, was fighting hard to stay clean and turn her life around after nearly 10 painful years of addiction.
I could see that she had gotten her will back to live, and she was doing great. And her friends all said that. They said she was better off than they'd seen her since she lost her brother.
Becky came home on August 20th, 2019 and found a note. It still sits on her kitchen counter.
It says, Mom, I took off for a little while. I'm in good hands, I promise. Be back shortly. Please don't worry. No need to. Call if you need me. Love you, Chan. That's the note I found when I come home that evening.
What happens next has put Becky on her own path to find her daughter.
I want answers for Candace. I need them for Candace. I'm doing this mainly, for myself, but for Candace. Candace deserves it. I need to know.
This is what we know. A man named Christopher Spies, who was from Gilmer County, picked Candace up that afternoon. They went to the Birch River area of Nicholas County. Troopers think they were selling drugs. Candace knew people in Birch River, but Spies didn't have a lot of connections. He did have some outstanding warrants, though, for failing to register as a sex offender. The two ended up at the home of a man named Sam Kelly, and that's where the truth about what happens next falls apart.
So they went to his residence, and that was around midnight. They were there for a while. They decided it was time to leave. The gentleman went to Gomart to go get some cigarettes with his girlfriend. When they come back, they actually see Mr. Spies and Candace leaving the residence on foot, headed towards the fire department, and that was the last that they seen him. And kind of from Mr. Spies' memory, that he can kind of put her in a general area.
Since then, there's been no proof Candace is alive, and no proof either that she's not. Just the central question: what happened once they left that house? Around 7 o'clock the next morning, Spies was picked up walking along Widendale Road, a few miles from Birch River. Ironically, it was Kelly who picked him up. He told investigators he happened to spot Spies as he was on his way to work.
When he was found, it was not with Candace.
No, he was alone.
Since then, Spies was arrested on charges unrelated to Candace's disappearance that have landed him at the Huttonsville Correctional Center. I wrote to him as the 3-year anniversary of Candace's disappearance was approaching, asking if he had any information that could help find her and bring her family closure. He wrote back, telling me his lawyer told him not to, but that he had nothing to hide. I would love for Candace to be found so it would clear my name. I've sat down with investigators countless times going over the events of that night. Candace and I was partying, been up a few days on meth and Xanax, so my memory was like one of them picture books that you flip through really fast, frame by frame. I didn't do anything to Candace, and I don't know where she is at. Spies has been interviewed several times by investigators. Becky was even there for one of those talks, and it's something she says Spies said that haunts her.
I hollered at him. I said, Spies. I said, just tell me, is Candace with us or not? And he turned around and looked at me and said, not. And that's all he said, and just walked away real quick. And that was it.
That's a really hard question to answer, whether he's being deceitful or he's trying to hide something. But it is my opinion from talking to him. I mean, he does appear to be genuine and trying to help.
In the days and weeks following Candace's disappearance, extensive searches were conducted throughout Birch River, from where she was last seen and around where Spies was picked up. Troopers even took Spies there himself more than once, hoping to jog his memory or get something out of him. But they found nothing.
He can walk you up till 1, 2 o'clock, and then he can remember being picked up the next morning. But the time in between is something that he tells us he can't recall.
Candace's cell phone, which died around midnight, has never been found. But a local found her change purse with her ID in the woods not long after she disappeared.
The gentleman she came up missing with, he just keeps on saying that he thought he was running from the state police and he ran to the woods over here, and that she followed him and she didn't answer. He said he lost her in the woods.
Becky spent the anniversary sitting alongside Route 19 in Birch River, collecting signatures to try and convince investigators and the prosecutor to take more action against Spies.
That's my whole purpose of being here today, is for Candace, to get answers for her, to get Christopher Spies' body in for questioning, to get answers. He was the last person seen with her.
Spies tells me he knows he's an easy target, but he's adamant he didn't do anything to Candace. I hope and pray they find her, he writes.
We need help. We're looking for someone to come and tell us information that we do not know about the 1 o'clock morning hours until daylight. There's something that most likely happened in that time period that we can't account for. We don't have witnesses for, and it's my opinion that there's folks out there who are probably sitting on that information who maybe hope that one day someone else comes and tells their story, or that information gets out some other way. But without them, coming forward and telling us that story, we may never know.
The road to find her daughter has been painful and confusing.
In my heart, yes, I feel she's out there.
But it's one she'll continue to travel for the truth.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I have a lot of faith too. And I just have faith she's out there.
You can read much more about this case right now on our website, WCHSTV.com. If you have any information that could help find Candace Cochran, call State Police in Braxton County. Their number, 304-765-2101. Reporting in the studio, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Well, today marks 3 years since a Charleston teenager was murdered after coming home from the grocery store. Her case, one of very few in Charleston that involves the murder of a teenage girl. Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin is here now as her mother is speaking about the unsolved investigation for the very first time.
Lorena Blake's name and picture dominated headlines in the capital city immediately following her murder in November 2019. A young and beautiful teenager shot dead outside of her West Side apartment, left to die in the street. Police formed a task force to target gun crime that year. They pleaded with the public to come forward with information to make an arrest, but the case has now gone cold. Tonight, her mother is sharing her pain and the police sending a message to those who know the truth and refuse to tell it.
Saturday, November 30th, 2019. The time, 7:06 p.m.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I need to report a shooting on Level Drive in Charleston.
Did somebody get shot or you heard gunshots?
We heard a lot of gunshots.
A number of shots fired. I don't know exactly where, but probably a dozen of shots fired just now.
They're shooting, they were shooting. I don't know what's going on now.
Did someone get hit?
I don't know.
14 people called 911 after hearing the shots.
My wife and I hit the floor because they sounded that close.
Man, we've got numerous calls on it.
Okay, it was a lot of shots.
But none of them saw what happened.
Oh my God, please, please.
We've gotten lots of calls.
Yeah, it was like 40 damn shots. It's right beside my house.
What's your phone number?
I need to report a shooting. It was a lot of shots.
Did somebody get shot?
Within minutes, police would find Lorena Blake shot multiple times, clinging to life next to her car where she had been unloading groceries. She made it to the hospital, but they couldn't save her.
What people don't realize, too, at this homicide, there was probably 4 or 5 other people around at the time, and we feel that they saw the shooter or knew who the shooter was and are afraid to come forward.
It's that same fear coupled with the pain Lorena's mother says she still can't grasp that she asked to not show her face or use her name for this story.
Is there any way to describe what your life has been like the last 3 years?
Like hell. You go to the store, everything reminds you of her. It's not even to go to the store because you just remember what she liked. And just break down in the middle of the store, start crying, and people don't know why.
Her mother says Lorena was beautiful, tough, stubborn, and filled with love. And since she got the call that her daughter had been shot and killed, she has struggled to understand what she once feared.
Yeah, I was worried about her. But I always thought maybe she liked to speed, and when your child driving the car, you always think something will happen. The car accident, but it was a different accident. Cold-blooded murderers, killers. That's what they are.
Charleston Police Lieutenant Tony Hazlett was the chief of detectives when Blake was murdered.
Yeah, it was a difficult one.
The city was in the midst of a wave of violence in the weeks leading up to Lorena's murder that prompted the formation of a task force specifically dedicated to violent crimes.
We're doing everything we can to bring the person responsible to justice.
Lorena had been quietly fighting her own battles. Police said her boyfriend, Quinnell Bradshaw, who was known on the streets as Juice, had tried to kill her just 5 months before she was gunned down. Court records detail an alleged attack in the shower, holding her mouth open under a shower head until she started to choke and lose consciousness. She told police he'd also punched her in the face so hard she was seriously hurt. Police said her injuries were consistent with what she told them. A few months before that, Bradshaw was caught with a gun and charged with being a prohibited person with a firearm. At the time of Lorena's murder, he was wanted for malicious wounding.
Do you know why anyone would have wanted to kill her?
I mean, there's an assumption, but I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell.
Less than a month after she was killed, police had hit a brick wall in the investigation.
Now, I want to reach out to the public. We need your help. If you do ask a question,
they begged witnesses to come forward.
There are people who have information about this murder, and they can help us bring this murderer to justice. I understand the culture of not wanting to talk to the police or fear of retaliation if you provide information for a crime, but understand this. This is about getting justice for the family of an 18-year-old that was brutally murdered by gun violence.
It was then that they officially named Bradshaw as a person of interest in the case, along with several others they believed had valuable information that could solve it.
We strongly feel that they know who the shooter is, or at least could point us in the right direction.
They all refused to cooperate.
So what are you missing to be able to link Bradshaw or anyone else to Lorena's murder?
Actually, someone to come forward and say they actually saw him do the shooting. That would be the key piece, and I strongly feel that happened. I think somebody on the porch actually saw him shoot her, or tying his location to the Level Drive area or any other key piece of evidence that we're missing.
Bradshaw was arrested on the outstanding warrants after a traffic stop in January 2020. He posted bond, skipped court more than once, and was arrested again for failure to appear.
You are, in fact, Cannell Tyree Bradshaw, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But with no one talking and police left with what they say was not enough evidence for an arrest, no one has ever been charged with anything connected to Lorena's murder. The charges against Bradshaw from the shower incident were downgraded from a felony to domestic battery. He spent 182 days in jail.
What are your thoughts and feelings on just the investigation as a whole over the last 3 years?
I think with all the resources, it could have been done more.
The questions play like a broken record in her head. Could more have been done? Could she have saved her? How is the person who killed her daughter able to sleep at night?
When I go off about something, she's like, Mom, just ignore it. She just it's not worth it.
How do you think she would feel knowing you're going through all this pain?
She would probably say, I'm sorry.
For every story you hear about gun violence, about another shooting somewhere in some city like Charleston, there's always a mother like this one.
Aching and just a big hole inside.
Left to wonder what could have been done to save their child and what needs to be done to bring those responsible to justice.
I hope they don't go through what I went through.
If you have any information that could help police make an arrest in this case, call Charleston Detective.
It's one of the most recognized and talked about cold cases here in Kanawha County, the mysterious disappearance of Melanie Matheny. This week marks 16 years since the mother of 3 was last seen alive.
Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin talked with Melanie's family about the struggles for clear answers, and this latest Eyewitness News investigates cold case files.
Melanie Matheny's disappearance is nowhere closer to being solved today than it was 16 years ago. Last seen dropping her children off at daycare in Bell, her case is one of dead-end leads and never-ending tales and theories about what could have happened to her. But behind those stories is a family determined to find the truth.
It's here beside Coonskin Pond that Catherine Moles comes to think about her niece Melanie Matheny, who would be 37 today.
That's part of this long process, bracing yourself for the worst, but hoping for the best.
A ginkgo biloba tree continues to grow as the years pass. They call it Melanie's tree, but the pain for everyone who comes to visit is as fresh as it was on July 19th, 2006.
My sister called me in the evening and said that they can't find Melanie.
Melanie was 21 then, a young mother of 3 determined to give her kids the life she knew they deserved. She decided she was going to be a nurse, and that morning her plan was to go to Garnet Career Center to get transcripts and take them to West Virginia State.
She was supposed to be picking up school transcripts, and she didn't make it. No one saw her at Garnet.
Around 8 o'clock that morning, she dropped her children off at Country Kids Daycare in Bell. It was the last time detectives with the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office can confirm she was alive.
It's verified that Melanie herself dropped her children off. Daycare workers reported that she seemed just normal as usual, nothing concerning to them. But what had tipped the family off later in the day was the fact that she had failed to pick her kids up at daycare.
Her dad, James Matheny, was the first to report her missing that night. Also missing was Melanie's 1998 Chevy van. Family members and rescue crews with canine units searched the woods and areas near Campbell's Creek where she lived part-time with her boyfriend.
She's been missing for over 48 hours, and anyone that has any type of information that saw her Wednesday evening, please call the number.
A break in the case came on day 4.
On July 23rd, her vehicle was located around Wyoming Street and Beering Avenue, which is on the west side of Charleston.
But there was nothing inside that helped detectives at all. Things that should have been there, like her purse and cell phone, weren't. And there were no signs of a struggle.
That's something that really has always bothered me and I've questioned. It was parked on an intersection at a corner on the west side. And her van had been plastered all over the news for several days, but no one reported that van.
Catherine wonders how long the van was really there and why it was found where it was. If it had been there for 4 days, why didn't anyone report it? The discovery only adding to the frustration and questions investigators had too.
You have to wonder, did she go missing from that vehicle? Did someone else deposit the vehicle there and it wasn't Melanie? It poses all kinds of new questions.
Phone records indicated Melanie checked her voicemail around 9:30 the morning she went missing, and that she called an auto repair shop shortly after dropping her children off at daycare to confirm she had an appointment in the coming days. Tips poured in too. One person claiming he may have seen Melanie in a red SUV on the west side fighting with someone on the afternoon of her disappearance.
That witness had reported around the time that Melanie had gone missing, he observed a red SUV, and there were two individuals in the SUV, and they were arguing, and he thought he heard the female yell something about babies.
But they were never able to confirm if it was Melanie or find that SUV. The investigation leading to more than 200 interviews. There were countless searches of mines, mine shafts, and other places people pointed them to, but there's never been a confirmed suspect in the case.
To say that there has been a named suspect, no. Have there been many names and some of the same names brought up over the years? Yes.
The pain led Catherine to start working with families of missing people from all around the state to help in any way she can, even if it's just to listen or help spread the word of a missing loved one. She keeps a list of them all.
No matter what they do, what their status is in the society, they're people. Their family are human beings that have feelings, and everyone deserves to be found.
That's the thing about these tragedies. There's so many victims. Shattered lives of family members left as collateral damage, just trying to find peace.
I was trying to find a good word to describe how people feel, because it's really hard, and that word just sort of summed it all up in one word.
The word is Portuguese, saudade. A yearning for happiness that is past, or perhaps never even existed.
A longing for something or some event that one is fond of, which is gone, but might return in a distant future.
Melanie's family started Melanie's Hope, a charitable organization that is dedicated to raising awareness about missing people, but also supports animal rescue, something that was important to Melanie. Her mother's husband, Bill, knows that peace they're searching for will only come when they find the truth.
1, 2, 3.
Don't give up hope if you're in our situation. Look for the light, and if you know something, say something, tell somebody. Don't care who you are, just need the information.
But with each agonizing anniversary, Catherine says she'll wait, knowing one day that truth will come.
A lot of people give up, and we don't. One day we will find her.
If you have any information that could help find Melanie, call the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office. Their number 304-357-0169. Right now on our website, you can find more information about the investigation and old stories from deep inside the Eyewitness News archives. Just go to WCHSTV.com. Reporting in the studio, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.